Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangaroo. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, it's Tuesday, so you know what that means? It's more monthly coverage for the monthly tournament. Today on Haroshaje, what do we have today, sir?
Left-hand side in the blue, we have Farid Rommel playing 5th SS Panzer with a Maverick income. Right-hand side in red, we have Mr. Ghosty playing 5 guard tank corps, also with a Maverick income.
So, it's kind of funny to me to see the Boita Su-76, because I think to myself, couldn't you find a better thing than Boita?
Yeah, I know.
Ugh.
It's like Hans really picked the short straw on what he's going to pirate and not DVDs.
Exactly. He's like, come on, could you at least get me, Narnia or something like that? I'd rather take Narnia than this. Give me Twilight. I'll take Twilight over an Su-76 Boita.
4080p and the audio was
Yes.
kind of barely working.
So that's that shaky cam thing from the mid-90s. But here we go. We get a nice normal breakout, I would say, over here from Mr. Ghosty. We have an early IS-2, which is going to outgun pretty much anything that's over here on the German side of stuff. But down south, actually, quite interesting to me. Minimal Soviet breakout. We're seeing a much more aggressive push from the Germans. Not enough necessarily in my mind to push the Soviets out of the town. Certainly not that BA-10 there. But it's going to get dicey nonetheless, I would think.
Yeah, it's actually quite an aggressive push as bringing some stern pioneers as well. I mean, Japan's Grenadiers, if he can get them out of the forest and into those buildings, he'll be in a good position. But lack of, real anti-tank or light vehicles definitely is going to slow him down a bit. He is bringing in a, Su-76 is not really any reinforcements from Ghosty's end, so he has some time to build up his push.
Well, I think that kind of calls into question, okay, so he's put a good amount of investment in the south. What happens in the rest of the field? And if you're looking at the center, first of all, we see the IS-2 start to assert itself. Clubs a seal, i.e. one of those half tracks into very easy submission. But the funny thing about the Viking here is that you don't need to go super intense in this middle side because you still get that nice distance that the MG-34s and 42s do give you. So
yeah, the infantry is pretty solid just because of that. They can, especially in this town, it's always like a long-range fight in this town. It's hard to get the CQC guys up close unless you do good use with your smoke micro. But IS-2 is proven to be a bit of a pain here.
It's a bit of a pain, yes, but there's a P3 that has paper for armor, but he might be able to at least stress him out a little bit. I don't think he's going to get a shot off. Nope.
No.
There we go.
He gets big blabs. And that opener, as you see with the IS-2, actually works really well. Heck, even a Panther from the German side, if we do end up seeing that, because it's the center of the town. Pretty open. It's open field, heavy armor is good to go. And also, mortars. I'm happy to see a mortar half-track being used.
Yeah, and actually, we made the comment of the IS-2 being great, but actually, I do like this Su-85 follow-up, too. We'll take a look down south in just a second as that attack is developing and getting stopped at the same time. But the Su-85, it's not the same, scariness as the IS-2, but it does give you a nice amount of firepower, and since everything's going to concentrate automatically on the IS-2, the Su-85 just snipes from a distance and really puts down some hurt, so.
Yeah, and his southern push is actually going quite well. We're seeing Farid making his own little, cauldron here. That BA-10 is scary, and there's really no anti-tank here, which is still a bit of an issue here. For Farid, the Su-76 is still coming up to the front. So it's really going to come down to these two light armored vehicles to just stop this German push.
We are seeing the stovepipe half track. It is putting fire down on the southern side of the town, which is a good thing since, there's a Sherman in the area who's engaging MG, but the addition of that 81 mil should be enough to kind of stop this Soviet push, which is going to be necessary. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, getting some pretty good hits.
Some pretty good hits indeed. The IS-2, here it comes. Come on, here we go. Here we go.
Come on. Turn off the hold fire.
This to me is Jack Nicholson. No, this is Heath Ledger as a Joker being like, come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it.
Do it. Do it.
Oh, man. But no, the Grenadier Führer is going to go down because he was not willing to pull the literal trigger.
Yeah, that was such a unfortunate wasted opportunity. Because IS-2 really overextended a little bit too cockily. But now there are some reinforcements. Yes, Su-85 will be taking his place. So I think Ghosty realized his lesson, and hopefully for him, he doesn't repeat it, because he may not get a second chance.
This is true. Jagdpanzer down south somehow doesn't get hit by the guard anti-tank grenade, and he got very, very lucky. So Farid is an aggressive player. We've seen that on him time and time again, but that was almost a foolhardy order coming through from that Jagdpanzer. Charges past the guard squad. BA-10 is going to rip off a shot, actually does rip off a shot, and paints on the outside. Very, very fortunate the BA-10 was not more accurate.
Yeah, very lucky, because he is now pretty much open to southern flank, and now he's in a very good position to set up a good defense around the flags. There's not really any more reason to push from here, and Panzer Grenadiers in this sort of environment, but as long as I'm not too close to the forest, he should be able to hold. He just, once again, needs probably a little bit more anti-tank if he wants to easily hold it.
The curious thing I would say, though, is that frankly, you actually don't need a ton of anti-tank in the south, because, one, despite the fact that Viking, like I said already, doesn't have a ton of AT infantry, I would still say it's still scary-ish enough that most people are not going to be charging on fours. This Svedka charging into this garrison here is a little bit unheard of, but he still has enough to throw a bazooka shot out the window, no scoping, and killing that Jagdpanzer. That's
a
rough.
really good snipe.
It is very
good.
God. Yes.
That must be so annoying. He just brought out that thing. Also, there's that M2 half track in the center of the map, and he's actually been a huge pain in the arse here. Now his transmission is destroyed, and soon his vehicle will be destroyed.
Exactly, but he's able to at least stymie a lot more of that bleed that should be happening here. It's going to be 14-10 in just a moment. So, not getting the -2. So that's more than fair, but still worth being nervous about this. IS-2 is going to line up on the Bota Su-76. I think it's going to be a one-way ticket. Yep, there it is.
Yep. Sure, maybe for Ghosty here, his best bet is just try to push heavy in the center and try to win this fight. He still has pretty good tank advantage with that IS-2. Oh!
APCR shells do something. So, yeah, folks, what we have here is we have ourselves a early 2000s banking move. The IS-2 getting bailed out. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to find another half-trained peasant to stick in there before it goes down.
Yeah, that's kind of a big loss here for Ghosty, especially just momentum. He still has tanks and infantry and vehicles and a decent amount of anti-airs. We've seen that J-88 is barely getting any eyes on. But it's going to be about whether Ghosty can continue his momentum with the push, because the Germans are falling back, and he does have some space he can take, but does he have the time to do so?
And that's the issue, isn't it? And I think the funny thing that we're seeing right now is we're seeing Farid do a very intelligent, let's say, second wave. Sturm Pioneer to the south, Pigren, and several half-tracks. These guys are lining up. They're going to try to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think this is kind of funny, because you made the comment that Ghosty needs to maybe not be super aggressive in the south, but at least do something to stem the bleeding. And I think we're seeing maybe the consequence of not doing that, because now the Germans can sweep south to north, maybe even create that giant cauldron in the center. That could be brutal.
Yeah, because you do got some positions on that southern hill pointing northwards where you can get a good anti-tank gun into up here. So if he can get maybe a Pak 40 into that position, he could probably start sniping some units as they come along the road.
It's possible he could bring Pak 40s in, but we are not there for another minute yet. So he's not going to... He's got 5 chances. This second Jagdpanzer is coming to the center, which I have to say I would like to see it utilized a little more around that south, as we've been talking about here.
Yeah, I think he kind of needs, desperately some anti-tank in the center, because those Germans are pushing quite hard. I do like how Ghosty is not deterred from losing down south and is just going full hog in the center. I think he's realizes how much Farid has invested in the south right now. So he's got his opportunity. He can't let this go.
No, he can't. And that really is the state of the game, though, isn't it? Long-range snipe Jagdpanzer takes out the Su-85. MCHAs and Jagdpanzer are going to engage one another. I do not like this for the Sherman. If he wins, it's going to be by attrition, not by outright killing.
Yeah, he just needs to get out of here, because he will not be able to destroy it. And that Panzer IV is getting into, well, I'll say a little bit of a risky position. He's getting pinged from that PTRD, but he's pretty much the like major effective fighting force directly in the town. Well, I guess it's still the Pioneer. He's a bit behind enemy lines.
It's weird to think that Farid owns the entire southern part of the map and yet it's 15-9 the other direction.
Yeah, there's only so much you can really utilize down south. I mean, it is 3 flags he has been able to capture, which is good. He might be able to capture some more if he does this little push onto that Maxim gun. That'll just be a really good push. Just throw some infantry in that farmstead. They're not going to hold the town forever, but they can hold it long enough to be a pain.
And that's kind of the question right now, isn't it? Is actually we're seeing a couple of Peaguns at long last being driven into the northern side. But by the same token, we're seeing 5 squads come the other direction from the north. So Tankovy Maverick, Superiors. This is Ghosty's attempt to kind of really, bring out your dead.
Yeah, North's kind of collapsed there for Farid. All of a sudden, that M2 half-track took a lot of territory for not a whole lot of bloodshed. So I do like how Ghosty is going to be following up. Because, yeah, if he can capture the north and do good damage in the center, that puts him in a very good position.
Well, Farid didn't have really anything in the south. I'm sorry, in the north, rather. He had that one squad of Pioneers, and that has been it this entire time. So we're seeing now that really big drawback of, oh my gosh, wait a second, there's something here that I do have to worry about. In the center, P4 goes down, courtesy of those MCHAs, so the Lend-Lease doing its work. Well done there.
We got the Hero Panther.
Yes, you also say Nicolosi over here. Lek is certainly in there. We also have another IS-2 on the map. That's the second... Oh no, because we're into Phase B now, so oof. Ooh, this got ugly real quick for Farid.
Yeah, and we're seeing down south at Panzer IV. It's doing a decent job of holding off his push. Probably gonna, back off because you don't want to be fighting an IS-2 at long range here. But it's going to be slowing down those reinforcements just for a little bit, improving that holding the south. Can be a pain, also a pain if you let the tank shoot you.
Yes, it certainly is. I turned towards the center for a second, and that's when I come back. I was like, wait a second, where's the P4? Realizing that people are now making s'mores around his corpse. But we are into Phase B, and that does bring a couple of T-34-85s. Were worthwhile Boyd to stuff this time, at least. And MCHAs are not going to do a whole lot to those.
Yeah, it's going to be... Once again, always the funny irony of this game of... Now we've got Germans using Russian tanks against Russians and American tanks.
And that's really the question, isn't it? Is the idea being like, well, you know what? How many countries on the World War II bingo card are we going to get in a particular match? And you know what? I have to say, there's the Men of Steel expansion coming out soon. No, I'm not getting sponsored to say this, but I'm actually really excited to see more Bulgarian divisions.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
We got some pretty good divisions coming out in that one.
It's exciting. We've always talked about this since the word go, that's the one thing that has really been done well for this particular setup, is that they've been very, very free about recognizing a lot of countries' contributions. So it's such a great thing. In any case, returning back towards this southern side, we are seeing Tankovy Maverick and Superiors. We're going to see a reclamation over here to the south. I think Ghosty has had enough of this southern hillside being held by the Germans.
Yeah, Ghosty's done a very good job, especially after losing the south so early on, just trying to maintain momentum. Or not trying, successfully. He's got that 15-9 point advantage. The north has gone pretty well for him. He's in a very good defensive position. I think one of his best tools he has been using are just those M2A1 half-tracks. Those 50 cal half-tracks, as we're seeing here, can prove to be a huge pain. He's been maneuvering them, and we're seeing it again around the weak points in Farid's line, and just being an absolute hassle with a, God's caliber 50 cal.
Yeah, and when you have Mamadeus over here, I mean, it's kind of one of those moments where it's... If you can see as a flag, a little bit here, a little bit there, Hero Panther goes down, courtesy IS-2. HE-111 is going to go after the IS-2, though. He's probably going to get the bombs off, but they are not going to be accurate.
No.
But, yeah, Mamadeus is over here doing her thing, and those half-tracks are just seizing territory, 20, 30 seconds. Seizing territory, 15 seconds. And it's a bother, to put it in a very British way. It's a terrible bother.
Yeah, it's going to be now above an hour, because we got... little bridgehead from Ghosty down south. He's got all his Tanko Destinidki, and those are going to be much better close range compared to Panzer Grenadiers. So yeah, he should be able to. I don't say it's going to be an easy clear up down south. Those 2-pack 40s may want to reconsider their locations, maybe. But it is a start for Ghosty to start reclaiming a bit.
And here's the other bit of that too. I feel like the Peagrins should be sliding north. I feel like the half track should be sliding at least to that church and taking posture around that church, using as best as you can to put some fire down on the counterattack that is slowly, obviously being utilized here. So I watched the T-34-85 start to engage. The Jagdpanzer is engaging the Zis, I believe. Yeah, well, the transmission damage, his time on this Earth is pretty short. And there we go.
Yeah, Ghosty's has been trading very effectively in the center here. I think new IS-2's proven him a lot of value now, even at PE2. It just has the core of the town, and he just has a better defensive position with all the buildings, while Farid is left a little bit more towards the outskirts here, and there's not really many ways he can maneuver and hide apart from just going forward.
This is true for sure. Watching as this IL-2 lines up on this poor, I would say innocent scout, but, never mind. The IL-2 decides he's not going to waste munitions on such a paltry target, and he kind of pulls back. The push is beginning in the south, though. Those forests are starting to turn rather red, and as good as half-tracks are going to be, they're going to get forced back pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and we've got heavy investment. SU-85, 2 MCHA commanders. Like, Ghosty is wanting to get back his 7th side with force, and I think those Shermans will prove to be quite powerful. It's really going to come down to his hidden Pack 40s to get some rather clutch first shots.
Yes, it certainly will seem to do so. Regrettably, some of the Pack 40s are kind of radically out of position. There's one Pack 40 right now who's trying to rotate up to maybe get eyes on. I think the PE2 may have seen it.
It's actually a very good chance.
Well, if they didn't, the Superiors certainly do. You can see by the fact that they're shooting at that crew to death, so... Oopsies.
Very bad micro moving a bit too aggressively. There's a second Pack 40, but there's a little bit too much forces here, I'd say, for him to really be able to effectively deal with this.
Well, yeah, and add in the fact, too, that it's being captained by a person named Bush, and we can only assume he's probably drunk right now. But beer muscles being what they are, he does go and kill the MCHA Camarati. He's going to get machine gunned in the meantime, but hey, let's celebrate the victories where we can, right?
Indeed. But no, it's very effective use of firepower from Ghosty. He's going to get his Tanko Distant keys into his forest, and yeah, you're right. Farid has his forces down south ready to spread out. He still has some troops holding the far south, but he needed to get those forces really more centered around the church area with some better effective angles of fire, because Ghosty's kind of just been able to come in and knock out Farid's positions one by one.
Yes, that certainly seems to be the case. And I will have to say, the anti-tank gun play today has been extremely active on both sides, but I think it feels that the Soviets are getting the better of it consistently just because, I mean, those ZIS-3s are really, really good, and the Pack 38s are decent, but they're hitting much heavier armor, I would argue, than on par, let's say on average, for the most of the stuff the Germans are kind of giving up here.
Yeah, overall, Ghosty's definitely been traded more effectively. I mean, the IS-2 flanking, getting the T-34, and once again, very nice snipe. And honestly, Farid just doesn't have too many options against those IS-2s. He can bring out some Panther-Ds, which do work out, but they are a little bit risky per se. This is why I haven't even just... I don't believe Viking doesn't get Pack 43s, but Pack 43 divisions in 1v1s are clutch. Just shoot at anti-tank or anti-tank aircraft.
Yes, there's also one bomb came off the HE-111. So to me, it's kind of funny, dude. Like, you're dropping all the bombs in the first place. If you get one bomb off, just shorten the bomb delay. Just drop everything, please.
Come on, just press the panic button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the the Star Trek equivalent, the World War II equivalent of Star Trek screaming "fire everything," because you might as well. I mean, you don't get a refund on those bombs. 105 from down south is putting fire down there, as is the 81. I have enjoyed seeing the artillery fire from the Germans, but it hasn't been really worth the tactical investment, I feel like.
Yeah, it hasn't really gotten too much value. I think what's he trying to aim at? Because he really does need to knock out some of those anti-aircraft positions as well, because that's really bottlenecking his aircraft force from getting some effective hits on that armor. But as we've seen, Farid Rommel is kind of running for the hills in the center. He's got a 1 Panzer IV, which is pretty much his only real effective unit left here. If he can kill that IS-2.
Yeah, that's always such a fantastic kind of word, as that conditional says if. That is really hard to sit on. And this is how gutsy, it looks like Ghosty is feeling. There's a combat only a few hundred meters behind the front lines. The last time I seen an officer this close to the lines, I feel like it was the Artie party from the Commandos in the first game. Down south there is a P4. All the anti-tank positions have been cleaned up, but there's one P4 that might be able to kill the Su-85. Maybe he doesn't even see him. They're not shooting it. Oh no, they can't see each other just yet. Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty effective counter-tank here from Farid. That one P4 actually providing some very good value, but he's a little bit lacking in the close-range infantry department. Pack 38 coming in clutch as well, getting some good crits on the Emscher Comrati.
This is true, but those stabilizers continue to be a bit of a hassle.
Oh, yes.
Add in the fact as well as PE2s and IL2s. Loaders killed, but I'll tell you what else is going to die here pretty quickly, and that's that Pgren. As is probably the Pack 38.
Yeah. Good hits.
Very good hits. The Soviet Air Force has been on today. And as true as you make the comment that it's great to see this kind of counter thrust in the South, it's not going to go and breed a long-term success, which is kind of the unfortunate part of this. He's going to pick up, maybe he picks up one flag, but still a -2 bleed. As you're now to Phase C, it's historically the phase that most divisions go to die.
Yeah. Yeah, and Farid has still not been able to do too much up north. He's going to be very hard for him to contest that zone because of his lack of TQC infantry. A lot of Tanko Designators and Superiors in the forest are going to keep that zone under control. And in the center, we got the ISU-152 now being brought in. Did the IS-2 die?
No, it didn't. It looked northeast.
Oh, no, he's all the way back. He's just died. Well, he's almost out of ammo.
He took about 14 different crits. The shooter died. The loader died. Honestly, I think the only person who still might be the original thing in that tank might actually be the chassis of the tank. I think all the crew members have got critted out at one point or another.
It's just like a ghost tank now, like the Flying Dutchman.
Exactly. What was that other? Was a Soviet tanker? Was it the White Tiger or something like that?
Oh, that's the Russian movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like with the Tiger tank and yeah.
The Ghost of Michael Vittman or something? I don't know. Whatever.
That would be a Halloween horror movie.
Yes, if you're a Soviet tanker.
In Northern France,
sure.
And everyone's like, it's like a slasher movie, but it's like, what happened to this person? It's just like a giant, like, tread mark over their, like, body.
Yeah, you kind of get that.
Must have been kids.
That image where you're like, nah, there's no way. Michael Vittman's dead. He couldn't be with us again. They have like a seance of the ghost of a Cromwell tank or something like that. Folks, coming out in 2025. Mark your calendars now. The ISU is doing what it does best, which is, roast PPIs. Not swiftly, mind you. Of course, the IS-2 has a fire rate measured in seasons. But when it shoots, it makes a nice big kaboom. And it maintains to be a 15-9 as Ghosty continues just to haunt every single part of Farid's line.
Yeah, we got a good little counterattack here for all the Grenadiers, stopping those Panzer Grenadiers from really making any progress. And they had a really lack of Panzerfaust and these Panzer Grenadiers. 4/5 S has really done him quite dirty here against the armored vehicles. I mean, that one Garda troop just drove right past a couple Panzer Grens, and he's just going like the bloody distance. Good God.
And that's the thing for me that I think I've always kind of regretted about the Viking division is that they don't have that anti-tank presence on their infantry. I feel like at this point, to be a viable top-tier kind of division, you need a couple of things. You need reasonable tanks, not glorious, but reasonable, and your infantry needs to be above average. And to be above average, you need anti-tank. You can even take these, piddly little PTRDs from the guards. They can technically kill, It might take them a couple years, but they can technically kill. And when they don't have those, well, that's fine. You have these anti-tank grenades. You still have something to keep tanks at a distance. Another P4 goes down as they're approaching the 90 seconds of life of Farid. I'm sorry. What were you going to say, sir? Because you had a comment coming up there. I could feel it.
No, it just seems Farid's a bit buggered. He's trying time and time again to just make his pushes, but really just the geography in the center is helping out Ghosty so much so he can just keep kind of dodging in and, back and forth from the buildings here, especially if stabilizers on those Shermans. And he just has a very good killing field against Farid's forces. It's like the same area they keep attacking and the same area they keep getting blown up.
So while the last few seconds kind of run out here, I think one thing I want to call attention to, I didn't talk about this early on when we were thinking about the decks, and we had them up on screen. I actually don't like Farid taking a C-face card of Recon Panthers, nor do I like him taking a C-face card of Stugs. If you have 80 points, you're not going to be able to afford those. You need to be taking these things earlier. Take the late card infantry, love that, but give me some earlier Recon Panthers, give me some earlier Stugs. That's going to make you a little bit more dynamic in that middle place right there. And that's at least allow you to at least set up or stymie a counterattack that's happening. I think that would have been a lot better to see those as opposed to seeing multiple more Panthers on the field in Phase B.
Yeah, he really just got screwed over. Yeah, I think very much in the anti-tank department, those IS-2s just played so effectively, probably against, say, more like traditional Soviet division with T-34 spam, he might have had a bit of a better chance.
This is true. If you're looking at kills, you do see the ISU definitely does decently well. There's an MTRA Vinograd over here taking off a handful of vehicles. The IS-2 is doing decently well. But you can see right now, except for one guard squad, everything else, the major killers are vehicle, heavy tank, vehicle, heavy tank. And that's the constant narrative here, isn't it?
It is. Tanks. And losses, the Ags Panzer doing decent, Panzer 4 Burger, not bad. But that's, oh wow, yeah, the heavy tanks from Farid the mortar. What, the 81mm mortar killed the IS-2?
Yes.
The first one.
Yeah, I think it was chip damage at the end of it all, but yeah, that was kind of funny to watch a shell land in the same area code, and suddenly IS-2 was like, you know what, I've had enough, and just kind of tapped.
Yeah, but most of these tanks from Farid's side didn't really get value, and it's really just turned into a tank brawl.
Fair. Very, very true. Any final thoughts there then, sir?
Nope.
Folks, in that case, then, it looks like it's going to be it for us today. Well done, Ghosty. Better luck next time, Farid. Until next time, though, I'm Conolwork.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.